Tonight on the rundown, we're talking about the biggest news out of technology and this week. And by the way, there was a bunch of it that's not even included in our newsreel tonight. And yes, I need some more tech therapy. But then we're really going to spend our time on something that my doctor tells me is happening to me more quickly than I'd like it to happen. I'm getting old. As are all of us. We are all aging, and technology is playing a unique role in what it means to age in the 21st century. We're going to get into that and so much more tonight on the rundown. Let's get started. Hello, everybody. This is really weird. I'm trying to keep track of when we're live, but YouTube is so delayed that it's throwing me off. Hi, everybody. Good to see you. And hello to Robert, who's watching it for the first time live on YouTube. Good to see you here, Robert. Yay. And Bretaverse, good to see you also. Oh, Birding with Lois is also in the YouTube. Nice to see you there, Lois. But I also want to say a special hello to my friends who are right here in this Zoom with me. Hello, Tamara.
Hello, David. How are you today?
I'm doing really, really well. How are you doing?
I'm good after our dance in.
After our what?
After our dance in.
Our dance in.
Our dance party backstage.
Absolutely. And Tony's in the YouTube also. Oh, we're all both in the Zoom and the YouTube. This
we're in
is
both places.
Like meta. This is very confusing. Not meta like that meta, but all right. And hello to my friend Tony Mobley.
Hello, David. I'm glad to be here. Hello, everyone on the panel.
I'm glad to see you here. It's really nice to have you here. Last time I saw you was on your show, on your channel. Good to have you here.
Absolutely, sir. And
fantastic. Thank
you again. It was a meaningful conversation.
It was fantastic, actually. And last night, by the way, was amazing also. It was a really, it got really intense and personal and beautiful and challenging, and it was really if you haven't seen that conversation with TonyMobley.com, definitely check out last night's conversation. And Lois is over there in the chat talking about her favorite bird with my
I decided that this time I was going to read those comments as they came in, because sometimes people say things that are very, very interesting and useful, and I haven't done it before. So I just turned off the video and I'm looking at oh boy, we have a lot of people in there.
Well, I'm just, so let me just warn you ahead of time not to get too distracted by Austin, because I know him. He lives with my daughter. So just fair warning.
I won't be chatting in there. I'll just be glancing once in a while.
Fair warning. And who else is here? Holy moly. Hello, Dave.
It's Dave, yes. Dave's back.
Dave.
Dave's in the house.
How you doing?
Dancing.
Yeah.
Dave's dancing in the house.
No, I'm doing good. It's actually melting up here, which is unusual for February. So, yeah.
All right. We'll take it. Well, let's not waste any time. There's so much to talk about. Let's get into the news. So, let's talk about what's happening in the world. There are really only two stories that I wanted to bring to us today, but then everything kind of happened today. So let's start with this. I think was probably the big story of the week, and that is that Apple yanked advanced data protection in the UK. Now, for those of you who don't know what this is talking about, it's okay, because most people don't, because almost no one uses advanced data protection. But if you're a dissident, if you are someone that needs to hide their, who needs to be very protective over their data or their information or their identity, advanced data protection is really, really important. And in the UK, they passed a law that said that Apple has to create a back door, not just for UK citizens, but for anyone that the UK may want to gain access to that advanced data protection data. So the data that's behind that. And Apple said, no, thank you. And they just turned it off for everybody in the UK. It's still available to us, but they turn it. Now, practically, what that means is that because there's now no advanced data protection in the UK, the government now can very easily get access to the data. But at least on principle, Apple stood up for what it believes in, and that is privacy. And go ahead, Lois.
So if they turned off data protection in the UK, but not in the US, does that mean that if I want to be anonymous, I can here in the US?
Yep. If you turn on advanced data, I don't want to say anonymous, but if you want to turn on advanced data protection, what that essentially means is that nothing from your phone will be unencrypted, as I understand it.
Okay. Well, I think that was a smart thing to do, because if they hadn't done that and they'd given the UK access to everybody's back door, then that means everybody in the world would be subject to whatever the government happens to be. And the government changes all the time. So you don't know what the new government's going to do.
Right. And I think that's what really threw people is this wasn't just about UK citizens. This was about all of us. And just to drill down just one more little tidbit about this, that the question here is not on device. The question is not about your phone itself. That is, everything that's in your phone is in your phone. Apple does not have access to that. It's the iCloud backups. That's where we get into trouble. Apple has a key to the iCloud backups, because if you lose yours, they need to have a way to get you back in. But this advanced data protection is basically encrypting that so that even Apple doesn't have access to it. And the UK said, no, we need to have access. This again it's the debate about freedom versus security, freedom versus safety. I don't know. Where do you fall on that, Dave?
Well, my feeling is if I want to encrypt something, I should be able to just do it myself. That is, I'll encrypt it and then put it on iCloud. And they don't have any control over what key I'm using there, because Apple has no idea. And anything that you do encrypt yourself and put in a little zip and put a password on it, then you can, check the encryption box and nobody can crack it. So, for those who have a reason to have privacy that they do not want Apple to know about or hand out to any authority, that's the sort of thing you do. But most of us don't have information that the government wants. Right. So this will be unnoticed by most people. I think if I went around here and asked any Mac users in my vicinity, do you turn on the encryption on your hard drive on your laptop, they wouldn't know what I'm talking about.
That's right.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You can encrypt your laptop locally.
Right.
And it's automatic. It reads back and you open your files and it decrypts automatically. So, if I lose my laptop, it's not worth anything to anybody because they can't get at the data.
Right. And that's why I think that this is largely a philosophical debate. But on Apple's part, look, they are the privacy and security tech company, right, Tamara?
We got to remember too that it's iMessage and something else is already encrypted end to end, and it doesn't sit on iCloud. The transcripts and everything are there, but they're all still encrypted, and they have no idea what's there. Yeah. So that'll be the same in the UK.
I think they had no other option to do that, because even though the average person does not even know that they have that possibility, they don't have it done. But what they do have is a sense of security, that Apple is the security people. So if the story became, your stuff is not secure in the UK, is how it would sound to every user in the world, is that, Apple is not the place for security. So I don't think they had an option not to do that, because again, I don't think most people know what it is, but they'll know the bad version of it.
Right. And I Am Fatness in YouTube is saying that once we have quantum computing, all encryption will be mute. I thought it wasn't there. I'm thinking about passkeys. I was thinking about the end of the password. And passkeys, I still haven't figured out passkeys. I use them. I just don't really. It's it's 2 levels of biometrics or something like that, right?
Mhm.
Is that what it is?
And it creates its own key based off you. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Mhm.
I will say one of my
So when you
favorite.
die, all that stuff is unavailable.
Well, right. That's the
So,
problem.
yeah.
I will say that, I remember being told that I shouldn't use a debit card at the gas station because so often someone will put a skimmer on or some other nefarious tool. And but I love using Apple Pay when I go to the stores because Apple Pay never uses your actual card number. It generates
Right.
a new card number every time, and I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Of course,
feel
that's
much
the
more.
advantage of tap and pay is that you're not using the card, you're using the chip on the card.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yes, Microsoft did, I in fact, make a new quantum chip that looks very promising. That quantum chip, if you haven't seen it, that's insane. What they packed into that little chip. Apparently, it is kept in the coldest place in the universe, and the fact that they were able to pack this computational power into this chip is just it's absolutely stunning.
It is.
We've also had this week a whole bunch of AI releases. Claude 3.7 just today. OpenAI announced ChatGPT 4.5, which is it's available now to pro users. It will be available. That's the $200 a month, people. It'll be available next week for Plus and Team users. And then the week after that, I believe, to enterprise and education users, and then hopefully to everyone. It is not a reasoning model like the O series models are, but it's supposed to be really, really good. I was spending a lot of time with OpenAI today, and it's still young. These tools are still young. But Amazon has decided that they're ready to really up their game. They have announced Alexa Plus.
So I think we need to be careful not to say that word because remember, this is going into everybody's house. They don't have a
We have
you know,
announced. They
A
have
above it.
announced Alexis Plus,
That's good.
Alexia Plus, Amazon Plus. So this is going to be, as I understand it, it's not available yet. It's in March. If you have Amazon, if you are an Amazon Prime member. Here it is. No. So $20 a month on its own, which is what everyone else charges. That all these AI tools are all doing $20 a month. Or it's I didn't see this. It's free for Amazon Prime members.
Oh.
And if you're not an Amazon Prime member, Amazon Prime is only $15 a month. So it's actually a better deal. Even if you don't want Amazon Prime, get it if you want this the Alexa Plus. So I watched the video. It looked pretty cool. I don't know. I mean, it actually looked more. What's the word? Agentic. Like it could actually do things for you. It looked like it could do more of that than I've seen from others. I don't know. Did any of you take a look at it? Did any of you see the video?
It's all starting to get like cable television to me and streaming, where I'm so saturated every day by the cool things that AI is doing that I can just see subscribing to a million things, and I'm starting to get weary. So even though it is cool, and I am a Prime member, it's just like exhausting.
I have a question for a general basic, really. I always thought that Alexis was a mechanical device that you set in your room, and then when you talk to it, it was a mechanical device you talk to. But it's sounding like it's a program, it's an app, it's a website. What is it?
Alexis is Amazon Siri.
Don't say that.
No, you can say Siri. Well, you just can't say Siri.
Right.
But no, you can choose whether you have the hey or not.
All right, Shlomo.
Shlomo.
Isn't that what they do on MacBook? Yeah.
But anyway, Shlomo is on an iPhone.
Right. And
I
so
thought
Alexis.
the other one was a physical device.
Right. No, but so that's you've actually just hit, Lois, to me on the main question is that where are people going to use this? I mean, I live in Amazon Prime. I'm not anti-Amazon at all, but I don't own
Yeah.
any Amazon devices, nor will I ever buy those
Yeah.
sort of in-home. I don't even know what they're called, Alexis Homes or Alexis Minis, whatever they are. Um, that's a little bit like, Lois, the Google Home, right? The Google Home has, you can talk to it because it's got Gemini built into it, but the device itself is not a Gemini. It's just it's a home for Gemini. So I don't
Siri's
know
also
where
in the
we're going to
HomePod.
use this. Sorry, Dave, go ahead.
The Apple's HomePod has Siri as well. You can
Right.
talk to Siri in your living room just
Right.
like you can the other devices.
But I don't know where
it doesn't
where we're
have
gonna
clever
use this.
answers and all that.
I mean, I don't know
Well,
what.
the kitchen is a very popular place for it because you can ask it for information while your hands are dirty, full, or otherwise.
Right, but
And you can also
have to
set a
have an
timer by
Alexis
asking
device,
for it.
though.
No.
And
Well,
what
sure. Yeah, that's the
and
thing.
I just do people have that? Like, is that a thing?
So I know
Yeah.
people who have it. I bought one because someone had recommended to put all of my my lighting on it. I'm like, okay, great, I'll get one. I have yet to put it together. Like, I have not
Yeah.
hooked it up. It's sitting unplugged in a little ball, like
You know
somewhere.
what I do have?
So I just am like, it's yet another thing.
Mhm.
I think at some point you're gonna have to pick, right? You're gonna have to decide if you're the A or the Shlomo, like because
Or the meta. Yeah.
or the meta. Like, I think it's right now they're all doing about the same thing, and there's been nothing that has been kind of the super reason to use any of it.
Right.
Where it's like, if I don't get that, my life is going to be markedly worse than it is now.
But if
Well,
I can
I
play
think
bingo
that, yeah.
over my Apple HomePod, if I can, get a bingo game and play and have the caller do the thing, I mean, I've got a whole evening's entertainment right there. I have it at my home.
I have found that the Hey Shlomo has gotten better recently. And
Do you
I'm
think it's
very-
because the little colored border they added?
Yeah, I was just going to say that's the
No.
only way which has gotten better.
It's because I can call an emergency crew to come and pick me up if I have a problem. I fell and broke my hip last year. And so my husband says, you have to have this with you all the time. So I can simply go, hey, Shlomo, call and get the emergency people to come. And it's incredibly useful. So yeah, I love it.
I
Yeah.
definitely think it's better, but I feel like it's better also because I've been spending more time trying to train her because I
Yes,
know
there
she
we
did
go.
not like me. I was convinced that she liked my brother, but she did not like women. I was very convinced of that.
See, you're all
I'm
proving
not-
my point, though.
Unconvinced of it now, but I do feel like you have to pick one and really train it and really kind of go back and forth with it. Now, I use ChatGPT almost daily on something. So that has become something that becomes just part of my world.
Wait,
But none of
Tamara,
these other devices.
I want you to tell everyone about the thing that you shared with me. This was amazing. But before you do, I just want to say that you've all proven my point, which is that the reason we're all playing with Shlomo is because we all have an iPhone. Shlomo is the Apple version of this, and we all have an Apple device. I'm not convinced that anyone. Not that anyone. I'm not convinced that I will ever need an Amazon device, and therefore will use this Alexa Plus. I mean, I'm good on them for
One
making
of the-
it, but Tony, go ahead.
One of the things that we hadn't talked about as far as this new thing with Amazon is that a lot of people, and I can speak for myself in particular, in that most of us have Fire Sticks, and we have Fire Sticks on our TVs in additions to Apple TVs, and my wife decided that she wanted to move away from her Apple TV and wanted to watch content on a Fire Stick. And one of the things that I think she is one of those people who is always calling on with her Fire Stick. And so now if there is the opportunity for her to do the kinds of things that she was doing with Google with A on her Fire Stick, that's going to be beneficial. So I think that puts another wrinkle in it. But the other thing I wanted to say is, Lois, I want to encourage you to, besides your phone, get an Apple Watch.
Don't need it.
With
This
fall,
is always with
because
me.
of fall detection. That's why. But
Yes.
wait,
Yeah.
Yeah, fall
Tony.
detection.
Yeah,
So,
I
Tony,
hadn't-
what's a Fire Stick?
Yeah, I hadn't thought about the Fire Stick. That's
What
like
is that?
it's like the Chromecast or the Apple TV. It's
It's a little device you plug into your
yeah,
TV's
it's Amazon's
USB port.
streaming device. Yeah.
But
Or
I have
HDMI
that, and
port.
it never even
Yeah.
occurred to me to use it in that
To
way.
talk to
Yeah,
it?
isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, I talk
Okay.
to my Apple TV all the time. I mean, it has a voice activation feature, and my wife uses it to say, "What did he say?" And it
That's
runs
funny.
it back 15 seconds, gives you titles. I ask it for files. I say I want to hear this from that, and it brings up the music, and there it is.
I've never
So-
even thought of doing that with an Apple TV. It's crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
I'm
button's
gonna
right
be
on the
losing a
remote there. You
weekend.
just
Yeah, I
thought
want to
into it.
push back. I want to push back just a little bit because
yeah.
what I want to say is that we are, I think, unique in that a lot of us are in the Apple infrastructure, but the majority of people are in the Google or Amazon infrastructure. And so I see it as a great benefit for those people who, a lot of people don't want to spend the amount of money that an Apple TV costs. A 4K Apple TV, you're looking at $150. A Fire Stick, you can get for $35.
Yeah, it's a good
And
point.
if it's Black Friday,
It's like
if it's Black
15.
Friday, you
Yeah.
might be able to get it for $20.
Yeah. It's
I have a
really
Roku
good
over
point.
here just waiting to be plugged in. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a
So
really good point.
I talk back to my television all the time, but it's
Yeah.
not because it's listening.
Not
it's
to
just
tell it what to
because-
do. Yeah.
Tamara, what did you
Yes.
tell me to do that I immediately went and did?
Our favorite TikToker, Nate, gave us a really great prompt with the new ChatGPT, and I'm just going to read it in the corner so I get it right. It's everyone in the world is the best at something. Given all that you know about me, what am I the best in the world at? And if you need a little boost, I just tell you, because my friend who, when I told her to do it, she said, I got the results. I was very pleased. She goes, ChatGPT is your best advocate.
That's right.
And truly, the best way to use ChatGPT is to ask it about yourself, and it will tell you in the nicest way, even if it tells you something negative.
And now, of course, I mean, the more you use ChatGPT, the more it knows about you, the better it will do. I put this in. I mean, I don't buy that I'm the best in the world at this, but as far as the details, spot on. Deep
Right.
love for Jewish learning and spiritual leadership, talent for music and rhythm guitar, using sound to shape worship, visionary approach to education, preschool to adult learners, knack for using technology to enhance community. I mean, this is exactly what I do.
It's
Where did
super.
you get all that information about you, though? What did
What-
you put in there?
So nothing. I just use it every day, all the time for
Right.
everything, and it has just that. And there's a place also to tell. Like I put my bio in there and stuff like that. But if you use these tools enough, they really do get to know you based on what you ask for and the way you do it. And I don't know. This is just a really.
Mine was super interesting because what it has on me is a 30-page document, PDF document, where I put every single resume that I have ever done in the entire time. I just put it in one document. I threw it in, and this was early last summer, and I said, look at this person's information and tell me what kind of jobs this person can have. And what it pulled back for me as what it says I do is so super specific. And there's no way that you could look at my resumes, which is the problem I have. People look at my resume and they go, well, you've done this and you've done this, and I can't get a clear through line on you. And what ChatGPT did for my answer to that question was absolutely one thing that when I looked at it, I was like, oh, I can see how you could look at 30 pages of this resume and really zero in on the fact that I work with writers and that I help writers do, find their voice.
Yeah.
And that it worked. It was so specific. It was like, you work with experienced writers to do. And I was like, that's eerily true. And then I went back and asked it more questions. Well, where would I find work? And it gave me a whole bunch of paths. So it was super interesting. It's a great question. Everybody should do it because it says wonderful things about you.
It does make you feel good. And
Yeah, I've done it as well.
yeah, I have a lot of problems, and so I need things to make me feel good, just like I need sometimes just to
Feel a
come to some
transition.
tech therapy.
Help?
The doctor is in the house.
The doctor is in the house. Here's my challenge. I know that I should engage more on social media for professional reasons, but it feels so forced sometimes. I taking pictures of myself or what I'm working on, like I don't people don't care what I'm working on. People don't care about like the stuff that people post on social media feels so trite and trivial to me. And yet I know that doing that and being a presence and sharing regularly is an important part of building up a
So, if
persona.
you were a radio personality and you had to get up every day and do the afternoon drive home, would that feel forced? So, I think you're mixing profession with how you feel. Like you're a professional in this area, and this is what you do, and that's why you get satisfaction from doing it. But if you're feeling it's forced, that's only because you're just reaching the limit. And you can just wait, pull it back a little bit, wait for it to feel better, and then do it some more. The other side is to go take a walk in the woods. Just turn everything off and just go and find out why you feel this way.
I'll just tell you that I've only ever put up two kinds of, well, that's not entirely true. Video wise, I've only put up two kinds. One is educational
The
stuff
tech
like
thing?
this, or music. Those are the two kinds of videos. And as far as social media, like Facebook type of stuff goes, the only stuff I've ever posted has been political stuff when it really
Right.
mattered. I don't.
Yeah, good.
So if
Jump
you
right in, Tony. You got to jump in. You can't just sort of sit
yeah,
back there.
go
No,
ahead,
it's all right.
Tony. You haven't
We'll go
talked yet.
Lois, Tony, and Tamara. Go
Then
ahead,
Tony.
Lois.
Okay, so the social media stuff, if you are feeling like the things that you put out are trite, well, you said what other people put out was trite. So if you want to make it feel more human, why don't you just pick a person, my, cousin Jane or whatever, and write a little note to cousin Jane and post that on your social media. You will have a human experience. And if you think she's going to be interested in it, then maybe other people will be too. What?
I don't. If
Go,
I want to
Tony.
write something to cousin Jane, I'll write something to cousin Jane.
No, but we're talking about getting you comfortable with posting on social media. Think of it as a
I'm-
postcard.
Yeah, I look at it a little differently, David, from this standpoint. First thing is find social media that appeals to you.
Mm.
The second thing I would say is a wise man, Ken Jordan, made a suggestion to me when I originally started a conversation with Tony Mobley. And he said, what you want to do is to push the things that are important to you that you want to share on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever it is. But you want to do shorts. And what you do with the shorts is that you point them to your website. So your website is the place in which you get the engagement with those who are interested in what you have to say. Now, I have not done a good job of that, but I heard him very clearly when he said, you use the social media platforms to create interest in what you want to talk about, but you really want to drive them to your community. So you want them on your website so that you can do engagement, so that you can ask for donations if that's what you need to do. That you can create tiers for the different kinds of conversations like you have. And so what I will lift up is the thing that Mac Break Weekly does in terms of they have this thing on YouTube that they do, and Alex and everybody and are on with Leo, and they have this great conversation. But then there are people who pay $7 a month that have the opportunity to get even more information and more dialogue, more hands-on, more behind the scenes, more. And so what I would say is that if you know that you're not really an advocate for doing stuff on social media, think about doing shorts that points people to your website, the Tech
That makes
Guy.
sense.
And,
Shorts make sense.
And yeah.
Yeah. Tamara, help.
So I say this having thought deeply about this and done nothing about it in my own world because I'm having the same problem that you
See?
are.
Yeah.
However, I have thought about it, and I will offer you this. When I have posted stuff where I'm just posting, it feels icky, it feels salesy, it feels all of the things that I hate about when other people do it. I'm shocked and amazed that anybody would be interested, and there's always one or two people who reach out to me outside of that are interested that I'm like, who knew? But the reality is the very best that the internet has to offer is community. And so really who you're talking to is not the mass public. Who you're talking to are the people that you want to be engaged with. And I think sometimes we think about social media as we have to reach everyone. You actually don't need to reach everyone. You need to reach the people who are in your community that are like your raving fans, like that are people who you would want to be in community with. You would want to be in a Zoom with them. You would want to go to dinner with them. You'd want to have deeper conversations with them. And if you are thinking about who those people are and tailoring your message to those people, you will expand your audience. You will go big. But even if you didn't, you would have exactly the people who you want to be in community with, who you want to have those deeper conversations with.
It's interesting because I've always thought of social media as a marketing tool. I've never really thought of it as an opportunity to build community.
It can be a place for genuine engagement.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
It really
Even
can
as
be
a
that.
marketing tool, though, what you're doing is I've got a bunch of people on my feed and they're saying little things. And the thing that I remember is the thing I'm going to be hooked into. And I'm going to be in a meeting 6 months from now, and I'm going to remember something that David said, and I'm going to reach out. So from a marketing perspective, that's kind of how marketing works, right? You want to leave people with something that may have instant action, but also may have action 2 weeks from now or 3 months from now. So again, if you're trying to throw it out to everybody, you actually don't need everybody. You don't need all those people to engage with you. What you need are the people who you are interested in bringing into your community and having a deeper conversation with, because those people are going to tell their friends, hey, I got this guy, David. He's so great. You should come into his community. And that's how you're going to get a community that's rich and deep. And even if you don't plan on having a community, you're going to have engagement that is going to have that. But you have two different places, in multiple places where you do have a community, where you do have people who you want to have deeper conversations with. So that's my thoughts.
Yeah.
So David, I don't have a business, but I am always astonished how many people there out. I use Facebook occasionally. How many people there are out there who know me? And when my birthday comes around, it's like, oh wow, I heard from them and them and them. There's 35 people who posted on my, So it may be just a sentence that says happy birthday, but I see that face, I hear that name, and I go, oh yeah, there's a friend. There's a friend.
Speaking of getting older, do you remember? I bet all of us here do. Do you remember the first year that you got more Facebook happy birthdays than cards? I remember that. I remember when that transition happened, and all of a sudden, the way we celebrate birthdays had just changed. You know.
I never got cards.
Yeah, well, I'm feeling so much better about myself.
Help?
In the mail.
David, I just want to
The
say
check
that
is in the mail. We've got a bunch of people talking and watching, and I'm so glad that all of you here are Hershey. It's good to have you here. The only thing Amazon has, he says, is 30-day returns and free shipping. I don't know. I'm a
That is a
huge-
significant advantage.
Yeah,
That's
I'm a
definitely
big,
true. Definitely
and
true.
Walmart, yes, Walmart does can also fantastic can match that. And thank you for noting my audio sounds thin. I hope I moved my mic closer to me. I hope that's a little better.
Now you're better. Yeah.
Post my opinion on major news stories. Yeah, that you can comment on intelligently. My fear there, this is for another show, is that I'll get in trouble because I am very opinionated. And sometimes I'm not careful with what I say. I'm not political.
I also like how Tony helped you out for your last therapy session. He's a week behind, but he helped out there too.
He helped me both times, yeah. Alex has been posting tech, one subject, tech, been consistent since he first joined Twitter back in 2008. Used to post every day, multiple times a day for years. Doesn't really post now, but responds. Good for you. And Sky is just hungry, I think. Because he says, social media is a restaurant, a place where people gather. Sky, we miss you. It's good to have you here. Joe Kelly is watching. Ron Phelps is watching. Everything old is new again. Indeed. Speaking of old.
Transition.
So our topic for tonight is how technology is impacting aging. I guess what I
Do you want a list?
well, let's
You want a
go
list?
around
I
the
got a
horn.
list.
Let's go around the horn once, and maybe let's start
Sure.
with one sort of example of a way that you have found technology helping you, or perhaps something that you've been yearning for, or something you've heard about. Let's just kind of go around the horn. Dave, we'll start with you, and then maybe Tony, Lois,
So many
and
things. I gave my mother an iPad when she was 87. She learned to do all her banking. She learned to follow the grandchildren on Facebook. She did games on it and emails to people. It was just easy for her to just pick it up and start doing it. Never used a computer in her life. Doesn't even know how to type. She was great. The other one that's come up recently is AirTags. And shoemakers are now leaving a sleeve in the shoe for a person who has dementia or Alzheimer's and wanders around. And you can track them. You can find them within minutes.
Wait,
of
in
where
in your shoe?
Yeah, it's a slot in your shoe, and you put an AirTag in it. And when the person puts the shoes on to go
Wow.
outside, they may not put a coat on. In fact, they may not even put on clothes, but they intend most likely to put shoes on because they're going outside. And it's the latest of the things. And the third thing I'll bring up, even though I have 15 things, I'll just use my top three, is the enormous research that is being done through things like wristwatches. And it's not just Apple. Other people, Fitbit is doing it as well. Everybody's worried about the insurance companies as a side issue. Growing old means you might fall down, you might forget, you might have distractions, and you might need support. And all of that comes through your phone. It tells you what's going on, tells you where you should be, tells you your medications are due, and if you fall down, it knows it, or if you're in a car crash, it knows it, and it will call 911 when you're unconscious. Now, lots of people have testified to how it saved their life and all the rest. That's great. I don't wear one, but I endorse what it does for both big research, where 50,000 people sign up to do a research project. Any researcher in the world would love to have a sample size of 50,000.
Yeah. I was at the doctor yesterday and was told that my blood pressure is approaching stroke level. So he told me that in addition to going on some medications, I need to start tracking my blood pressure. So I went on Amazon and I ordered an iHealth blood pressure cuff, which connects to my phone via Bluetooth, and all of my readings, all
Your
my blood
charts
pressure
are all
readings
in there.
are now
Yeah.
recorded in this app, and I can walk into the doctor in 2 weeks and say, here's my record of all my blood pressure readings. Yeah, absolutely.
Did that with diet too. I had it all tracked, and I met the nutritionist, and it was all the information she needed.
Yep, absolutely. Tony, you're up. What you got for us?
I was really thinking about this. Friday was my birthday. And going back to what you said about the card thing, I got absolutely no cards. But I probably got in the neighborhood of 200 happy birthdays on social media and other virtual services. So that's amazing, I think. I want to lift up, I know this is not a religious conversation, but I do want to lift up this. I'm participating with a house of worship that has, I turned 67 on Friday, and I'm one of the youngsters in this virtual house of worship. There's one person there's two people that are younger than me. The person that's younger than me is 63, and the other person is their daughter who's like 36. Everybody else is older than me in their 70s or 80s. And we are having a worship service on Thursday nights and on Sundays. And we're doing it in Zoom primarily, and we broadcast occasionally on YouTube. This 10 years ago would be unheard of. These old people having worship services, interacting with other, having engagement. We've had people from office hours that have come and participated in the service, and they've all over the world. And so this little small church, and they're going to get me for saying small church, but this small church has had global interaction. So you talk about growing old gracefully. I think that that is one way in which you can talk about growing old gracefully.
Wow.
So I'll stop there. I got tons of
That's
stuff
powerful.
that I
No,
can
it's
share.
powerful stuff.
Yeah,
Lois, what do you think?
Well, in addition to everything everybody else has said, for me, the social media communications, being able to Zoom with folks since the pandemic or Skype with folks before that, all of that ability to communicate with your family and friends is, I think, a very good and useful change. The other part is, well, they have a fancy term for it, cognitive training, playing games on your phone. And it there's these word games that the phone, on the computer, whatever, and you can learn so many words, and it's got built in, if you don't know what the word is, you click on it and it takes you to a page that has definitions and then a link to the websites and a link to dictionaries and stuff. It's wonderful, and I think that keeping our brains active is a very useful thing.
That's a really good point. Yeah. Tamara, do you have anything?
So I do. I have kind of a I guess ancillary answer to that. I am a caregiver to a 76-year-old veteran and to my mom, who is going to be 72 this year. And I've been a caregiver before when my dad had cancer and passed away of cancer at 52, my age. So the major difference between being a caregiver 20 years ago and being a caregiver now is the access to just the data. Not only can I go into their charts, but I can set up a caregiver account that I can have access to the things I need to have access to. I can meet with other caregivers because this is uncharted territory for me. So there's so many things that allow me to be a careful caregiver and give people dignity that I work with, that I care for, that I love, the people that I love, to help me learn how to be a good caregiver, but also just the access to their data, the access for, to advocate for them, the ability to just go in and really formulate a plan for their care so that it allows them to not have to worry and not have to do that job themselves. So I think all of that access to technology helps aging, but also for a lot of us who are caring for aging people, it's hugely impactful to them being able to to age gracefully, and for me to be able to be supportive in a way that that they may not be able to do themselves. So that's my
Yeah. We think, I think that very often we think about aging as associated with illness. And look, it's, I'll be the first to admit that as I get older, yes, I have more ailments and more things are creaking and moaning than they were before.
Longer to recovery, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But that isn't the whole story. There
No.
really is a lot more. And one of the things that did jump out to me that I've been thinking about was something that is not really just impactful for those who are aging, but perhaps particularly impactful for them, is the expansion of telehealth. My daughters are able to go on have doctor's appointments on non-emergent ones, obviously, on the phone,
routine,
get things
yeah.
refilled, all of that work, and they're not aging, they're young. But for people who perhaps have mobility issues, for whom it's very difficult to get around, who don't have rides, telehealth is just a tremendous boon. I think to those folks.
It isn't just a boon for the recipients. It's a very great thing for the doctors because they can see so many people in such short a period of time, so that I think the doctors are able to do more for each person and to treat more people when they're doing the telehealth.
And they have the files right there. They know your background and that, pull it up and it's there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got a positive one too before Tony takes me out. My dad was a guy who liked to trade on the markets, but he raised 6 kids and didn't never have any money. And when he sold his house and moved into a home, he was able to put aside some money and start playing with it. And I got him a laptop, and he was immobile. He has a scooter and everything. He generated a significant amount of money for himself and gave it to the kids just by sitting with a laptop and doing his trading. Before, he used to have to phone in, and other times he had to meet with his advisor and make decisions for the next year. And he was able to research things and know things about companies. And being an accountant, he knew how to figure the numbers and do the charts. But he had more fun in the last 7 years of his life and made a ton of money that if he'd started when I was 8, he probably would have been multimillionaire just from his trading. And the laptop was what gave it to him. Otherwise, he'd have to do it on paper and be way behind.
I'll throw one other one in there, and that is education. That my mom, who's 84, lives alone in California and is on her computer literally all day in classes all over the world.
So
She's
cool.
in classes with other groups. She's in one-on-one study sessions with volunteer tutors, just learning about Buddhism or Judaism or Hinduism. I mean, any ism. She's just constantly learning, and she's not able to drive anymore, and she would not be able to have these experiences. And it goes, Lois, to what you were talking about earlier, also about that cognitive work that technology makes possible for folks. Tony, go ahead.
I have so much. Most of you know that over the last 3 years or so, I've been dealing with one thing or another in terms of cancer and some other things. But last year, this time, I was actually at home in a hospital bed in this very room that I'm in right now. I had a Hoyer lift in this room. I had a trapeze connected to a trapeze bar connected to the side of the hospital bed that was ordered for me to be in the room, and the bedside commode also in the room. I had to use a sliding board to get from the bed to the wheelchair to the commode, all of that, right? But that's not the important part that I want to share with you guys. I want to share this part with you. So there was a requirement for x-rays. They brought the x-ray equipment into the house. Nurses coming twice a week initially, physical therapists. The doctor would send in the nurse practitioner through Zoom to do all of that stuff. And there was not anything that required me to have to leave the house to get done. Blood work. They came in the house and did the blood work. Everything that I needed, because there was no way that I was going to be able to get into a car or pay for an ambulance to take me to these various things that I needed. So the world in which we live right now is, I think, beneficial for those of us who from time to time have these illnesses that just lock us into our homes and we were not able to do anything for ourselves. And so I just wanted to share that. It's like I said, blood work, x-rays, therapy machines, all kinds of things can be brought into the house and give you what you need.
And there's also independence where people can, shop for themselves and do a lot of tasks that they would
Right.
have to be dependent on someone else. So it's like I can take them shopping once a week, but if they need something, they can absolutely get it for themselves and it can be
Right.
there that day. So that I think that independence is so important that we have that technology to be able to do
That's
that.
really, I hadn't thought of it that way. You're right. Independence, the independence that technology provides to folks as they're aging and if they're perhaps less able. And Tony, I was thinking about, as you were talking about bringing,
X-ray machines,
yeah, thank you, X-ray machines
therapy.
in. I was thinking about how how important it is the way technology has been able to miniaturize what we need to do those things. And this is an unrelated example, but I was watching a video a couple weeks ago about Google Maps and how when Google Maps started, the camera that they put on top of the Google Maps car had to be lifted by a crane. And now it's in a backpack. And that's why we have maps of the mountains, because you have people walking with these cameras, these 360 cameras on their backpacks. That work of miniaturization, or it's not really miniaturization, but making things more compact, allowing them to be portable so that we can bring them into people's homes, is so powerful and so important.
One other thing I wanted to mention was with like Uber. So one of the things I noticed as I was dealing with Uber is if you scroll all the way to the bottom of Uber, they have two options. One is if you need someone who's medically trained to assist you, if you have an assistive device, like maybe you have a wheelchair, or maybe you have, or maybe you just have a walker, or maybe you just need a little extra care. And then there's a second choice that's even more medically a more medically trained person who can help you with more complex issues. So I thought that even changed how we find transportation so that you aren't really stuck waiting for any kind of special transportation. It's on the same app that your regular Uber is at the bottom.
Really?
Yep. This is mine in Los Angeles.
I had no
Maybe
idea.
it's not
And
everywhere.
if I could, I just want to lift this up. In the county that I'm in, they are providing wheelchair accessible vehicles for people to travel on if they need to, and they can only take you to places in the county, but they can take you to anything you can think of in the county: the library, the grocery store, hospital appointments, whatever you need. And the charge for my county is only $3 each way. It's amazing. And I've had the opportunity to take advantage of that when I was in the wheelchair, but I'm no longer in the wheelchair.
And when we have Uber taxis taking us, that are able to pick us up, even better. Lois, go ahead.
So let's talk a little bit about one of the big things for when you're getting older, and that is, where are you going to live? Now, if you had a family and you have a big house and there's just two of you left and you don't want to be in a big house, or if you are running out of money and you can't afford to rent where you are or whatever. So the three levels um, of residence, and this was in that article that they had from 2002, so it's 20 years old, and they were talking about living at home, living in an assisted living, and then living in a nursing home. But we
care,
have a
right?
fourth one, and that is between being in your own home and being in an assisted living. There's also the independent living places, and it's like you have your own little apartment in there, but there's a nurse on staff and they do their medicine for you, or that kind of thing. And so that, I think, is something that is fairly new, that we have these choices of where things are, but a lot of it is only for rich people. Well, not rich, but you have to be well off in order to be able to afford some of this stuff. So that isn't technically technology. It's technically uh, a difference in view of how you're going to live. My mom went through this. She died in 2014, and she was in various things. She had an apartment all by herself. She had an apartment with assistants. When she moved into the place where she had a lovely little room of her own, I mean, a little apartment, but they required her to have the nurse come and do her medicine. She couldn't do her own medicine anymore. It drove her crazy. But so there's all these various things that are happening to people now.
Well, and as technology changes, then those facilities will also change, presumably, to where, then you have the pre-designed from when they build it that has technological capabilities. Maybe it's, A plus, or a better slow-mo, like whatever that design is happening, that will also be, I think we'll see in the next 20 years, a very different option within that framework that you presented, Lynn.
There's another piece of this, and again, I'm going to show you a clip from a video. The video itself was not geared toward the elderly, but it absolutely applies, I think. Was this earlier today? Earlier today, Meta announced the second generation of their Aria glasses. The Aria glasses are their attempt at AR smart glasses. They're actually, I think, probably the closest thing that we've ever gotten to. But in the video that they put out explaining it, this woman is shopping. She's wearing the glasses. You can see this looking. And now she asks it, and you can tell that she's blind, help me find red onions. And then the glasses are able to lead her to the right thing. So again, when we think about folks who may be aging and may have trouble getting things on their own, using assistive tools like AI glasses, or even robotic tools or robots.
There's a hearing aid version of those glasses as well, that literally gives captions as people are talking.
Yeah. Just so many different tools. Dave, did I cut you off?
Yeah, live captions there. Yeah. I was going to follow up on Tony's experience of having so many services come to his house. In Japan, if you're over 65, you're registered with a local group who have a van, and they come and visit you. And they do the rounds with about 15 or 20 people on their route. And they make sure that you're met every day, because far too many Japanese women who lost their husbands just stayed home. And family was far away, and it was inconvenient for anyone to take them in. So then they said, we'll come to you. And they've set up a whole system across most of Japan. Some of the rural areas don't have it, where people come and visit that old person all the time to make sure they're, still happy and doing things. But at the same time, it's giving them the services they need right on the spot.
And that happens in other places, not just Japan. You need to sign up for something. In our town, we have the police call every day. If you've signed up for it, they call. It's a wellness check to see how you're doing. There's
Really?
There's a community service in the larger area, Sacramento area, where they have volunteers that are assigned to particular people. And so my mom had a volunteer who came and visited her every week and hung out at her place for an hour or two and chatted and talked and whatever. And then
my wife was one of those people. Yeah.
Yeah. And she would call periodically during the week. So you knew that everyone in that community was getting looked at or talked to or had some social interaction, even if they did have no technology.
That's amazing. Let me ask you perhaps a more challenging question. I mean, there are a million ways in which, thank goodness, technology is helping us live better lives. What's your take on technology helping us live longer lives? And I don't mean, giving us healthier food. I mean, technology or scientific work on really extending our lives until we're earning Social Security when we're 200 years old, like a few million
Well,
people apparently.
I'd like to tell you a little about my mom. She lived to be 98. She had one more month before she would have been 99, but uh, she was not healthy. She was not happy. I mean, she was a happy person, but she always said, if I don't wake up some morning, that's going to be a good day. So she was ready to go. And one morning she didn't wake up, and the nurse came in, saw her, called, got the fire department, got everybody, and restarted. And she was so mad at them because she didn't want to continue to live when her life wasn't pleasant.
No heroic effort. Yes.
Well, she had that listed, and the
Yeah.
place she was living didn't
Right.
follow her
They
wishes.
didn't follow it. Yeah. The thing I think in terms of what you were talking about, David, is that the tracking of your health is going to start earlier. We often ignore a lot of my older brother went most of his life till he was about 60, never saw a doctor. And now he's in big trouble because a lot of things that he could have got earlier, maybe at 30, he would have paid attention and then those things could have been dealt with. And I think the younger generation is very comfortable being tracked and followed and participating in these things with their devices. And then they're going to have the information they need to make better choices about what my choice of living is going to be and how much stress I'm dealing with. And even if your blood pressure goes up when a pretty girl goes by, that's important information to know.
Yeah, Sky wrote quality of life. It's quality of life versus quantity of life, though, because there are folks out there that are using technology and science to try and extend our lives well beyond 100, 102, 104, 110. I mean, they're
Should I outlive my heroes?
well, should we be using technology to try and do just that? Should we be using technology to learn how to kill death?
No, but it's an important part of life.
Only if you can use technology to stop aging. In other words, if I could have stopped my aging from happening when I was 55, I would have been perfectly happy to live as long as I could. But the older I get, the less comfortable I am about hanging around, like my mom said.
Yeah, there's a raging discussion that was going on the YouTube about Botox, but I'm not sure that that's the kind of quality of life enhancement that we're looking for. I'm not sure
David,
that would
if I
have done it
could,
for me. Go ahead.
if I could talk, just maybe twist it just a little bit from the standpoint of physical health as opposed to intellectual health. I'm reminded I had Paul Wallace on with me several weeks ago, and Paul Walhus. Um, he's 80 plus, and he is doing all of these things. He's generating these multiple questions in office hours. He's prolific in generating these questions, and he's always bringing in different kinds of technology, and he's bringing in all of these things. And the thing that occurred to me as I was talking to him was that he is entrenched in it, constantly learning new things. And I think that when people are engaged in learning new things, they are working their minds to embrace new ideas and concepts. And thinking out of the box. You know, that is when we have this opportunity to enrich our intellectual health. And I think as far as the physical health part, as was already said, that definitely things are going to begin to be looked at earlier, Um, but the intellectual health, if you have an active mind, even when everything else is not working, you can still have a good life.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm a big fan of SimCity. Anybody else ever play that? It's a hugely complicated game. You have to have your wits about you. You have time limited decision making, and your citizens are never happy. And so you have to continually respond to them with either not right now or, and lots of decisions and disasters and things that happen, things go on fire and stuff. So it's been my intellectual challenge to, whenever I feel like I'm losing it, I'll turn on SimCity and see if I can solve a city's problems. So you can do it with these word games. Those are great. My mother loved those, the word finding games. And she also got a train making game where you put tracks together and then it runs a train along it. And she told me once she stayed up till 3 a.m. playing with this thing before she realized she really should have been in bed a while ago. So she was stimulated by it, and I thought that was real great.
Well, I will offer just to wrap us up, I will offer a non-technological piece of advice about staying young. And that is, when you're feeling old, go hang out with a whole bunch of young people. I mean, really young people.
Toddlers.
It is a blessing that I spend all day in a school, in a preschool. I am surrounded by 18-month-olds to 5-year-olds. And it is, I'll sit in my office and I'll do that adulting stuff and I'll work and I'll deal with budgets and that. But then when I'm feeling a little worn down, when I'm feeling a little, old, I just go outside. I play with the kids. I sit on the carpet and read a book with them. And oh my goodness, there's just nothing.
So how do we get that? I have no kids. I have no grandkids. How do I find a bunch of toddlers who want me to come and read books to them? Where do you find that?
Walk into the nearest elementary school and
I would
tell them you're available.
Absolutely.
Lois in my classroom to read books any day of the week.
I agree 100%. Absolutely. Thank you, guys. This was such a rich conversation. I'm really grateful to all of you. I'm so grateful to everyone who's watching and especially who's commenting. Sky and Alex and Joe Callie and let's see who else is here.
Robert was here.
Hershey, Robert, Alex, Ron Phelps, fantastic. All of you, Gary Lund, really so grateful to all of you for being here, for watching with us. We do this every Thursday night, and we'd love to have you join us. If you ever want to join the panel, reach out to me over in Discord. You can reach the Discord and our YouTube channel over at therundown.show. Hey, did any of you hear that there's a new office hours show called Special Hours coming? What is that going to be
Wednesday
about?
night.
Tuesday night.
Tuesday night. And I think their first
it's
show
going to
is
be
next
a special
Tuesday.
guest show. It's going to be with guests.
I love
the panel,
that so much.
It'll be like the second hour we used to have in the morning show.
Gotcha.
It'll be more formal. It'll have the questions and answers. It'll have panelists, but it'll be primarily to feature this person for the whole hour.
I love that.
That's
fantastic.
Cool. I love that.
Is that starting next week, you think, or the week after?
Well, it was supposed to start next week, but it'll be the 11th.
Okay.
Oh, changed.
Fantastic.
Okay.
March 11th. Look out for it. That's coming. And we'll be back next Thursday. And I'm grateful to all of you. Thank you, everyone. See you soon.
Bye.
On the Rundown.
Bye.